What's up, everyone? How we doing today? George Balekji, he's Travis Thomas rocking out. This is Foxborough Rush. T, how we doing today?
Oh, what a rush. You know, every time I hear our theme music, you know what I'm going to say. I just wish I had long, luscious hair that I could just...
When did the hair go? When did you come home?
I never wasn't home. I never had long. I just always kept it low anyways. And thank God, because at the point when I was like, all right, let's just go full Michael Jordan here, it was fine because everyone was used to seeing me with a low cut anyway. So I never really felt like I had to come home. Like right now, technically, I could still have some hair rocking, but I could never get to where I want to get here. You know what I mean?
Yeah. There's a word we say in Arabic. It's haram. And when you say haram, it's like shame. Like no.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, there are like bald people I see. I go haram. He's bald.
Yeah.
Never thought that with you once.
No.
You're a good-looking bald guy.
Yeah, thank God the Lord blessed me with a nice symmetrical situation.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Just remember that anytime anyone gives you crap, just look at them and go, haram.
Oh.
That you even think I look bad. You're a handsome guy. You don't need a great beard.
Like that. Thank you.
This is a pump-up episode of Foxborough Rush. So this will be our last episode of the week. We'll have a special one for you guys dropping Friday.
Yep.
It'll be all our NFL draft videos so far, talking about the Patriots' first round, wide receiver targets, and cornerbacks as we've had Keagan Stiefel. We'll have him on later in the show, this time talking offensive linemen.
Oh, God.
Travis's favorite. Hey, it's a conversation needed after that showing we saw on Sunday against the Dolphins.
Facts.
We'll be talking about Jerod Mayo saying everyone's being evaluated right now. Well, all right. Are your coordinators? Are you? New York football being trash, and then we'll also take a look at the Giants-Cowboys matchup that we'll have on Thanksgiving Day as well. So let's get into it, starting with Jerod Mayo during his Monday morning presser.
All right.
He said this one quote, what I will say is we're all being evaluated, coaches, players, we're all being evaluated, and these next few weeks are definitely important. That's a snippet out of a full quote he had. When I hear that, my mind goes, okay, we're all being evaluated. Coaches, players. All right, the players are being evaluated. We know. Coaches, Alex Van Pelt, DeMarcus Covington, Jerod Mayo himself have gotten their fair share of flack.
Yeah.
What I said Sunday when we were trying to break down that loss to the Dolphins and just looking back where it was just a coaching flaw.
Yep.
What I evaluate is like, where's the accountability? And a defensive-minded head coach, why don't you take over the defense? Why don't you lead DeMarcus Covington? Where is this? That's what I want to see, right?
Step in,
It's gotten to that point where you would see a coach that is an expert on either side of the ball would take over the play calling. Just simple as that. We haven't seen that. We're all being evaluated. Is Jerod Mayo evaluating DeMarcus Covington as a DC still and going, look, he's been in the DC for 12 games. I'll give him the full 17, full reign. This one just puzzles me of, we're all being evaluated. Do you evaluate yourself, Jerod Mayo? It's just such a mess, Travis. It was that game where the defense never looked prepared. The adjustments were late. All the penalties, that's a reflection of coaching. Multiple players after the game, Kyle Duggar, Jonathan Jones, Devon Gottschall, saying they're not sharp. They felt like they weren't locked in. I mean, that's culture and that's coaching as well.
Yeah.
Kyle Duggar looking lost on the field, and that's beyond an ankle injury. He just had a really bad day, and he's a really good player. We're all being evaluated. Is a head coach being evaluated? Because, again, this is an up-and-down team that continues to regress, and it just seems like it's the same issues we've seen, whether it's week 2, week 4, week 7, or now week 12.
I don't know. I mean, they should be evaluated, and they should be failing all evaluations across the board. All of them. Jerod Mayo, all the coordinators, every single one of them. But you know what stood out to me, George, in this quote? The literal sense of what he said. We're being evaluated. The next few weeks are important. I want to lock in on that part because that's where my ears perked up. The next few weeks, okay, let's talk about it. Win the bowl-ish game against the Colts, right? We all, I think, feel that way. If you're going to win one, you better win that Colts game, right? Bye week. Then you go to the desert to take on Kyler Murray and the Cardinals, who are coming off a huge, really kind of devastating loss. Not that their season's over, but they had a chance to take a stronger hold on the NFC West. Don't forget, coming into the game against the Seahawks, the Cardinals were at the top of the heap in the NFC West. They lay an egg. They don't look good. Seahawks win the game, right? Kyler didn't look like a leader. Kind of typical Cardinals. All of a sudden now, Jerod Mayo saying the next few weeks are important in terms of being evaluated. George, after a winnable game against the Colts, a bye week, and then a I don't know if we want to even call it winnable, but, a possibly winnable game in the desert on the road against Kyler, then we know what it is. 2 games against the Bills, playing for the number 1 seed, by the way, and then the Chargers. So who we all think will be a playoff team. I mean, listen, brother, I think his job specifically hangs in the balance literally in these next few weeks. You know why? For him to say that tells me that he knows if I lose to the Colts and I lose to the Cardinals, and this team essentially, you and I talked about this after a loss to the Dolphins, this team's planning vacations. They're hey, Cancun on 2, Cancun on 3, 1, 2, 3, Cancun.
Yeah.
If they're doing these things and they have sort of given up, they, the cliche, Jerod Mayo's lost the locker room. This team lays down the rest of the way is what I'm saying, George. Robert Kraft, as much love as they have, what's he call him? Thundercat or something?
Yes.
Stupid.
Thanks for reminding me.
Dumb. As much love as they have for one another. I think Robert Kraft could say, Jerod, I love you, but, what do you want me to do here? You finished the season losing all these damn games in a row. He's got to let him go. And Jerod Mayo knows it. That's what I keyed in on. Mm-hmm. The drama in me was like, next few weeks are important in terms of our evaluation. I bet it is. Because he knows. He sees the schedule like we do. He has these same conversations, not as loud and obnoxious as you and I, but he's having these conversations with his coaches. They know damn well what the schedule is. And they know damn well, Bills trying to play for a 1 seed, Chargers with Harbaugh. Well, we got the Colts and the Cardinals and a bye week in between. We really got to make some hay. No Shaq, Sherlock. You should have been doing that all season. We'll see. If they win 1 out of 2, if they win both, okay. But listen, brother, I'm willing to bet right now, George, they losing out. You hear me? Out. They are losing out.
Losing out. It's like I don't care wins and losses.
I know.
It's that team that showed up about Miami can't keep showing up.
You say that.
It is. You have to see an uptick and an improvement. If you're taking it down to 1-score games, shoot, even the Rams game. All right, you're absolutely diced up. 5 straight drives should have ended in points if not for a missed field goal. Matt Stafford against a blitz absolutely lit you up. But all of a sudden you look late in the game and 2 minutes just over or left.
Yeah.
And Drake May has you in a game.
Yes.
That's not an atrocity of a game. It was atrocious from one side.
Sure.
But the fact that the second drive of the game, 12 plays, 80 yards, missed a field goal, and Kendrick Bourne's that kind of sucked the energy out. Mm-hmm. Second drive of the game, and then again, the defense steps on the field. It's not ready. That's the second week in a row you've seen that offense. You know what you get from Tua. Yes. He's killed you every time he's matched up. You're a defensive head coach. Mm-hmm. Be in the game. Be competitive. Don't have penalties. Mm-hmm. Pre-snap. After the play, man, OPIs, DPIs, holding. That can be subjective to a point.
Yes.
But the pre-snap penalties, that's coaching. That's a reflection, and that's what gets me. I like this comment from Corey Callahan, 4474 on YouTube. He commented, AVP has been doing a great job of giving Drake a base and basics in the West Coast offense. I think he should be back next year, but they need to bring in a higher specialist under him who has experience in the spread offense and RPO. They also need a really good wide receivers coach.
He said AVP should be back?
Hey, one thing you cannot argue is everything, head to toe, between the ears for Drake May has gotten better under Alex Van Pelt. And keep in mind, first-time offensive coordinator, there's been more pre-snap motions as the season has gone on, which helps out a quarterback. The fact that Drake May can have pre-snap motions and make a read, but this offensive line stinks. Literally, only one of the 4 is a guy would be a backup on many teams. The receiving core is awful. The run game's been non-existent. The tight ends are just okay. But given what he's given, the offense has made progress and Drake May has. I don't think Alex Van Pelt is gone. I'll give a scenario later in the show why. But I agree with what Corey Callahan pointing out. Not necessarily someone to bring in and teach the spread in RPO. I do agree with the RPO. It's someone to come in. You need an actual head coach with actual experience to be an associate head coach, an advisor to the head coach. Not a Ben McAdoo, but someone out there that actually has head coach experience and someone out there in the offense. Like he points to Hughes, the wide receivers coach, first time coaching the NFL and clearly has no handle on that room. You need guys with actual experience, actual pull in this field, and actual cachet to be on this staff. You need to help out Jerod Mayo. You need to help out Drake May and Alex Van Pelt. Surrounding them with experienced guys helps.
All right. I want to be clear here because I feel like I'm not being concise. So let me go back to what I keyed in on the Mayo quote that you read, okay?
Yeah.
Next few weeks are definitely important, critical in terms of evaluation, okay?
Yep.
This is why I feel like you and I are on the same highway every time, but you get off and exit early. So I want to be concise. What I am saying is, and why the next few weeks are important, and that's why I keyed on what he said is, if you lose to the Colts, George, then you go into the bye. You can't be feeling great. You come out of the bye. That's a huge game now all of a sudden, presuming a loss to the Colts. You come out of that bye. That's a huge game in the desert now, and you lose to the Cardinals, okay? We both feel as though they're going to lose to the Bills twice and to the Chargers. I already know that. At that point, George, that is 7 games in a row, consecutive, you have lost. Think about the last win. Just go with me on this. They lose the Colts, they lose the Cardinals, and they lose out. That's 7 losses coming off of your last win when we thought there could be some momentum when you beat the Bears and got the offensive coordinator fired. That lets the air out of the room, okay? Like a balloon losing helium. It's flying everywhere.
Yeah.
All right? 7 straight losses to end a season. Although I agree, that's why I say we're on the same highway. Coming into the season, I think all of us were fair in expectations in terms of wins and losses. So I agree with you that it can't be all about that. Comma, if you lose 7 straight to end the season, when we thought you were on to something, we thought Eberflus, Waldron, morons. Jerod Mayo, not a moron. Okay. And then you lose 7 straight. It is about wins and losses at that point. Robert Kraft cannot sit there and watch the bottom fall out of a season that we knew wouldn't be great, but you lose. You end it worse than you started it or halfway. You end it worse. No shot. If they lose 7 straight, George, I'm sorry. I don't want AVP back. I don't want Dan Covington back. I don't want Mayo back. And tell me I'm crying wolf because I don't want Elliott Wolf back neither. That's all I'm saying.
That's fine on the front office. But again, it's not losing 7 straight. What is Alex Van Pelt's job? Develop this quarterback. Because this was a 3 or 4 win team. What if they lost 4 straight 1-1, lost 4 straight 1-1?
Sure.
Lost 4 straight 1-1.
7, I'm saying, George.
Yeah, I get it. But like, look at the win total, and who cares about the losing streak? It's the performance of the team. But to your point, as Jerod Mayo pointed out, Dan Campbell went 3-13-1. Yeah, he got 3 of his wins at the end of the season.
That's it.
The team showed fight. So I get the finish.
Yes.
But it's not the wins and losses. This was going to be a bad team. This is rock bottom. This better be rock bottom.
It is.
Because 2022 felt like rock bottom. Then 2023 happened. I was like, all right, this is rock bottom. Now we're in 2024. Just when you think there isn't another set of stairs to the cellar, there's another one. What was this under here?
Where are we?
What
are we at
Mima
the
and Grandpa doing?
Core? Like, where are we?
That's what it feels like.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. I get it. And I get it. It's how it looks. What I take away from a comment like that from Corey Callahan, 4474, shout out for the comment, Corey. Thanks, bro. There needs to be more support on this coaching staff. That's what it boils down to.
God.
Hey, make sure to tune in every Monday, Wednesday, Friday to Foxborough Rush. New episodes dropping 3 days a week. Mondays, post-game recaps. Wednesdays, draft talk as Keagan Stiefel joins the show. Fridays, Michael Lombardi hops on. That's Foxborough Rush, wherever you get your podcasts. And also you can watch and listen, of course, on YouTube. Go to Ness's YouTube page, hit the subscribe button, leave comments. We'll bring you into the show as well.
George, I do just want to say, before we get to our boy Keegs, I mean, how can you support a coaching staff a year after they make their debut? You don't think with all these first-time coaches you should maybe put a support staff around them?
Dude, everyone saw this. Everyone saw this. God bless her soul. My dead grandmother saw this coming. Robert Kraft just wanted to not actually like see through the forest, man. What is that saying? You can't see the leaves through the forest?
Yes.
I don't know what it like. I don't even know what that really means. Thank you. Thank you.
I'm here, by the way.
Great
nice
hack.
to see you guys.
Great hack, Keagan.
Thank you. I'm enjoying listening to the banter.
He's the referee. Keegs is the ref.
Look, yes, everyone could have seen this coming. Let's get to draft talk. Everyone could have seen it coming.
Yeah.
You just better learn a lesson and evaluate yourself after year one.
You know what's awesome about this conversation? We get to have it for the next 6 months. Isn't that fun?
Keegs, if they lose out, I don't think we are. I'm telling you. I know I'm on an island. I don't care. If they lose out, Keegs, which is totally feasible, I think everybody's gone. That's just me.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. It's easy to think that they lose out, but I don't think anybody saw them beating Cincinnati at the beginning of the year.
Facts.
I don't think anybody saw them kind of beating the crap out of the Jets to the point they did, obviously, for what's happened. You know, stuff changes, things happen. I think this conversation is going to go through a lot of different, ups and downs throughout the next 7 weeks for sure.
Sure.
A lot more downs, it feels like. All right, let's talk draft talk. So I know you guys are like, wait, you guys already talked offensive linemen. It was a first-round draft talk. It was offensive line heavy, but it was first-round draft talk. We're going to talk offensive linemen because clearly DeMontre Jacobs and Vidarian Lowe, surprise, aren't the answer. Clearly, Ben Brown, surprise, is not the answer.
Yep.
And the same thing goes for Michael Jordan.
Yep.
I'll hold out on Leighton Robinson.
Yep.
Let me cut you off real quick, George. You guys ready for some breaking news as we record?
Yes.
As it comes out, people are gonna know this. Offensive line breaking news. The Patriots just released Michael Jordan, who started 11 of 12 games. They claimed Lester Cotton off waivers. He was with Miami. They cut their starting left guard outright. So that's the state of the offensive line. You wonder why we're already talking offensive line again?
Sure.
That's why. There.
Yeah, and Keegs, here's how inconsequential that is, right? Is like go to Market Basket, find a fat athletic-looking dude, and ask him to start, on Sunday against the Colts.
I mean, that sounds like Cole Strange is ready.
That's where I'd go with that.
You still have Ben Brown at center. He played 87%. Do you guys get it? Travis,
right. I know.
Listen.
I know.
This is why offensive line talk is important.
I know.
Would you buy a house with a bad foundation? If I knew from looking at it for 5 seconds, that doesn't look right. Would you buy it?
No.
You wouldn't buy that with an offensive line. I'm sorry to yell at you, Travis. I'm sorry.
No, it's true.
I'm projecting my stresses. Oh, my God. They just cut Michael Jordan. Keagan, great breaking news, man.
Thank you. And the thing with that move, too, is he is not your worst offensive lineman. Not by a long shot.
No, he's not.
DeMontre Jacobs.
DeMontre Jacobs, I would say, is worse. But it's just a matter of his position and who's coming back. Cole Strange is probably slide right into left guard. The whole moving Cole Strange to center thing. And at some point, guys, we will talk about the draft. I know this is all right. When do we get into the draft talk? But at some point, I think they will try to get Cole Strange in and play him at center a little bit. But coming with a guy who had a patellar tendon injury and his knee exploded at the end of last year, and you're just going to have to be the center. Probably not the smartest idea. So maybe the coaching staff's doing something smart this time around. If we want to give them credit, this might be a place to do it.
Michael Jordan, I remember watching back on the Tennessee game because Drake May pointed out 2 particular plays, and then we'll talk draft, I promise. But he was like, I could have been better on these plays. And watching back, I was like, right, Drake May's off on the throw. Watching Michael Jordan at left guard, though, I know the infamous, chuck it to Ramondre Stevenson. Everyone was laughing that Michael Jordan did nothing. Yep. Hey, guys, that happened all game long. So I'm not shocked he's cut, but oh my God, you just cut your starting left guard. So with that, let's talk offensive lineman. Keagan, you always bring some guys right to the table. Who are you looking at as viable options in the draft the Patriots and Patriots fans should have their eyes on when it comes time to draft?
Yeah, I kind of wanted to get into the weeds a little bit with you guys because we've done some baseline Kelvin Banks, Will Campbell. We've talked to those 2 guys, and I think we'll continue to talk about them as the process goes along because once we figure out where they'll be drafting, it'll paint the picture a little bit better for us in terms of are these 2 guys that they're actually going to be focusing on? Maybe if they're way up high in the draft, they're going to hit another position and try to hit tackle later. So coming into this, I had 2 thoughts in my head. Avoid the top flight guys because we're going to talk about them later. Yeah. Get into the weeds a little bit and talk about versatility. And I think the Michael Jordan thing plays perfectly into this where Elliott Wolf and the tree that he comes from in terms of scouting and drafting players, versatility might be the number one thing that they look for, especially an offensive lineman. They don't want like a Vidarian Lowe, Vidarian Lowe is a left tackle. I don't think he can play any other position on the field. It's what he does. He doesn't do it all that well, but if you're going to put him anywhere on the offensive line, it kind of has to be left tackle. They're shoestrung there with him. Or shoehorn it. They have to put him in there. In this draft, I think they need to focus on versatility. Guys that can play multiple positions. So do you want one? Do you want two? You want to kind of cycle through? What are you looking for here, George?
Give me your one.
Number one, Jonah Savaiinaea. Don't know if I said that right, but offensive lineman out of Arizona.
Jonah Savaiinaea out of Arizona, yeah.
Thank you, George. Thank you. He is the kind of guy who, his profile, you look at him, that's an NFL guard, right? But what has he done throughout his college career? He's played tackle, and he's done it pretty damn well for an offense who has produced, right? We talked about Ted McMillan a few weeks ago. Arizona's the last problem they have on their team is offense. They produce, they score points. The defense is a different story. This is a guy who was started for multiple years on the left side. He moved over to the right side at one point, but size of a guard, but has the versatility to play tackle. He can slide in, maybe play all four positions outside of center. So this is just a guy baseline that I wanted to give you guys because he is a fringe first-round pick. But he represents the rest of the guys that I want to talk about today. Just because with this offensive line, it's more than one spot you're looking to fill. It's not just left tackle. So versatility is the name of the game here.
Fringe first-round picks, not the worst thing. Look. Receiver, tackle, the priority in the draft.
Yes.
Yeah. Especially tackle. Look, if they sign T. Higgins in free agency, your entire board changes.
Yeah.
But to your point even, Keagan, and again, if this is the Patriots are in a top 3 position, what they would love to be is at 2. 1 or 2. One won't happen, I don't think. But the reason being is that then there will be a bidding war. There's Shedeur Sanders and there's Cam Ward. And that's it. It's a very weak quarterback draft. It's also a very weak offensive tackle draft. Let's all be honest.
Right.
Will Campbell's seen as a left guard. Kelvin Banks, possibly just undersized. Yeah. Then you have Ante Ursary, who we'll get into. Really raw. Big, but raw. And then you get into guys like this. I'm just saying that if they sign a T. Higgins, then that changes what they can do at the top of the first. And if you get a versatile guy like that, a Jonas Savaiinaea. See, I can't even say it right. And you rebuild this offensive line that way because free agency is not the best. It's good at guard. I like the idea of versatility. Yeah. If you can just play multiple spots because obviously they need it because there are so many question marks all over that 5 guys up front.
Yeah, and no team in the NFL is going to have like a starting 5 that stays healthy all year and they play together. You need guys that can bounce around a little bit, especially young guys. They drafted Layden Robinson this year. And that was kind of his thing. He can play on both sides. He's a guard. He's probably never going to play tackle, but he can play left or right. You can move him around. I think he's an option to replace Michael Jordan, who we talked about off the top, where maybe they'll just slide him in there and they do want to put Cole Strange at center. The versatility aspect is something that you kind of just overlook because you see a guy play left tackle in college. And obviously, if he's going to get drafted, he was superb at it. We're going to talk about guys like Ursary and Kelvin Banks and stuff like that. They're superb, stupendous, tremendous, whatever, at left tackle in college. It's probably not going to work out that way in the NFL. Like, these blue-chip guys are so few and far between. The Trent Williams of the world, they're not coming around every year. So what you want to do is maximize the asset and take a guy who, God forbid he doesn't work out at tackle, we can slide him into guard, and then that spot is taken care of. You know what I mean? So that's why I want to talk about guys like these, because I think they're so much more valuable than a straight-up, he plays left tackle, and if he doesn't work, he's out of the league.
Yep. Well, listen, I don't even think there's a Joe Alt in this draft.
No, there's not. Or Rashawn Slater. No.
Which lends me to my question, because in segments like this, I ask you 2 questions, because you both know I have 0 interest in breaking down offensive linemen. Thanks. However, I know you 2 do, and I respect that. So I'm asking this. If we're talking maybe the quality high end isn't really there in this draft, has this season not taught us the importance of depth? Yep. I mean, is this a situation? Answer me this. How many offensive linemen, because I hear you, Keegs, with the versatility, how many offensive linemen are we looking at totality draft class? Because clearly you need depth, and if there's not that high end, generational Trent Williams, whatever, then are we talking about drafting a multitude of guys who can play both tackle and guard potentially for the Patriots in the draft class totality?
Just real quick, I'll give you a little stat, and I think it's going to answer your question for you.
Okay.
Patriots have rostered 19 offensive linemen this year.
Okay.
That's ridiculous. That's an insane number. You would think, injuries is probably the reason for it. No, they've just brought guys on and off the roster, and it hasn't worked, and they've cut loose. I think this year for them, and it's kind of tough with a rookie quarterback, but this year for them has been like, all right, open tryouts, guys. Right. Come in, you can play a little offensive line, and if you stick, you move on to the next round of the process, which is next year, training camp. See if you can stick again. That's what they've been doing, and they've got. I think they have 5 offensive linemen on the practice squad. They've got 11 on the active roster, something like that. It's an insane amount of guys. So I do think that's what they're doing. I think that's what they value, and the Packers did that for a long time, right? They didn't really target those guys super early. It was mostly defense in the first couple of rounds. Middle rounds, they were like, all right, we're going to get these versatile. They played tackle in college. They might play guard in the NFL. The Zach Toms of the world.
Jordan Morgans.
Yep.
Jordan Morgans, he was another guy from Arizona. He's probably a guard, and then they bring him in. It's like, oh, he's pretty good. So he's stuck. So it's a dartboard thing. I think they're just throwing darts at the board, and that's the guys that I would look at because they're just bottom line, the top end of this draft at offensive line is not good.
Yes.
Okay.
We talk about Will Campbell and Kelvin Banks like they're the blue chips just because they're the best of the worst. They're good. They might be really good in the NFL. The floor is just so low. Yeah. So I don't want to mess with those guys really at all. I don't want to waste a first round pick if I'm the Patriots and draft a guy who's going to end up being a mediocre guard in the NFL. They've gone down that road before. So
yeah. Look, it's this offensive line is putrid. At least they're aware of the guys in the room. It's just that shocking you'd cut a Michael Jordan is so important, but again, they just have nothing good moving forward. And what you want, like if the Patriots are picking top 3, when you take a tackle top 3, that guy needs to be like an Orlando Pace.
Right.
It's just an absolute 12-year starter, cornerstone guy, just like you said, beyond blue chip, just like cornerstone of the franchise player. And that guy isn't in this draft. Last draft with Olu Fashanu and Joel, it was there. This draft, it's not. Who else do you got, Keegan?
Another guy who kind of just fits in this, Jonah Monheim, another Jonah out of USC. He's a fun kind of guy to watch. He played all 5 positions at USC. This is his 5th year, so he's an older guy.
Jeez.
But he's playing center right now. He was their left tackle when Caleb Williams was there. What kind of – you're talking versatility. How many guys can play center and left tackle in back-to-back seasons and still be one of the best offensive linemen in college football? He gave up 0 sacks last year. He hasn't given up a sack this season, and he's only given up 2 quarterback pressures. So this is a guy who has versatility, and he's also just good. I think what his problem is going to be is just the measurements. Like his arms are short. He's probably going to run a bad 3-cone, and everybody's going to be like, well, he can't get out in space. We want to run that outside zone. He's not going to be able to do it. He's a good offensive lineman. Like why – this is one of the things that kills me with these evaluations where you take a guy and you're like, he has a great 3-cone, so he can get out in space. Yeah, but if when he gets out in space and a linebacker knocks him in the mouth and he falls on his ass and then the linebacker goes and makes a tackle, who cares if he can get out in space? John Monheim's going to at least get in front of people. So he's a guy where when I watch him, I'm like, I like that guy. I think he's a pretty good offensive lineman. And at this point, the Patriots will take a pretty good offensive lineman.
Because they don't got any. Hey, if you can play, and when you have 2 third-round picks, that gives you a lot of flexibility. Where there will be that, an offensive lineman again in the 3rd. Don't forget, they have the 2nd pick. That trade with the Falcons, which has aged so well. One of the 2 things that Elliot Wolf did right this offseason. Draft Drake May, don't trade back. Traded Matt Judon, got a 3rd-round pick. As Judon and the Falcons' pass rush has been non-existent. So that's a good pull with the Jonah Monheim. Like, we talk about the Kelvin Banks, and like, you mentioned it. I mean, for Monheim not to allow a sack yet, and keep in mind, he allowed sacks last season, but Caleb Williams runs everywhere. You lose track of him. So eventually, you're going to get beat because there is no pocket integrity, and your quarterback can sell you out. Not on purpose. He's a playmaker. It's going to happen. Drake May has that type of capability, but he's been really good in the pocket. Kelvin Banks has only allowed 6 pressures and 1 sack this season. He's now up to 38 starts, and he's very quick out of his stance, which makes up for his smaller stature because that gives him better depth when it comes to pass blocking. Super athletic, great feet, really good hands, stronger run blocker than a pass blocker. And let's face it, the Patriots don't have good run blocking either. So that's where a Kelvin Banks draft pick can make sense. And look, if he's pretty good at left tackle and he can get by and maybe eventually becomes a left guard, not the worst thing. I think that compared to a guy like LSU's Will Campbell, that's a left guard. At least Kelvin Banks has the length when it comes to his arms. Now, longer armed pass rushers will give him trouble. When they get on either shoulder, that's when he struggles. But he is such a strong base or really good anchor. The guys that try to overpower him, bull rushers, he holds his own. So there are the perks, and you see better things with Kelvin Banks than you would see when it comes to a Will Campbell and all of that.
Yeah, he's one of the guys where you can see it working out really well, right? You can see him coming in and being a franchise left tackle. But then you can also see him really struggling with the size disparity that he has with some of these guys at the NFL. Like a Calais Campbell playing 5-tech and just being like, go block Calais Campbell. He's going to be like, what? What do you want me to do? So that's the scary part of it. And it's always, for me, it's always going to go back to the versatility thing. For him, I don't know if he has the versatility because for him, all of his pros, if you're looking at it from a scouting report standpoint, all the pros are like, he's quick, he's got quick feet, he's fast, he gets back in his stance real quick. You're going to waste that guy at guard? You know what I mean? And guard, he's definitely too small to play guard. He's not heavy enough at all. So that's another one where you're kind of shoehorning him in to tackle, and you're like, all right, you're going to go replace Vidarian Lowe, and he could just end up being another Vidarian Lowe. And then you're wasting a first-round pick on a guy who you can clearly see that you don't want to play left tackle in the future. So it's I think that's a gamble. I really do. I think Kelvin Banks is a gamble. I think Will Campbell, like we talked about last time, where you bring him in, and it's, at the very least, we're going to have a decent offensive lineman. Is he going to play guard or tackle? We don't know. But at the very least, I can trust that he's going to be good at the next level. I don't know if I can do that with Banks.
Okay.
What at worst, though, I think, though, real quick, is that a Kelvin Banks is a Peter Skoronski. Like, it literally same frame. Skoronski, a career tackle at Northwestern. Now he's been a left guard at Tennessee. So I wouldn't rule out that ability. And when you do watch Kelvin Banks' film, what I do like about him, he's a really good pulling tackle. Like, he will get over to the right side of the offensive line on run games. And that helps, obviously, with play action, resetting the pocket, motions at the snap when you have an athletic quarterback like Drake May. I get what you're saying of, like, I don't know, at his size, you get in, you build him up, and that's coaching. I would have completely ruled out guard. And I get what you're saying, Keegan. I don't love the Vidarian Lowe comp, because let's remember what Vidarian Lowe was coming out of college. And Kelvin Banks is still tackle one in this draft for a reason. Weak tackle draft, but still tackle one. T, you go ahead.
I mean, listen, I've heard you guys break these guys down, and it seems like the consensus is Will Campbell. So I want to ask a question in a different way. If the Patriots are going to go first round on one of these guys, and it is Will Campbell, where is that spot in the first round for you? Where's that sweet spot where both of you would say, you know what? They got him at number blank. I'm okay with it. It's not an overreach. Let's see what he can do. Mm-hmm. They don't take him at number 1 or number 2.
No.
But where would you feel comfortable if the Patriots select Will Campbell in that first round? What's the right number for the both of you?
Keegan, you go.
Yeah, a lot of aspects to that. The thing that jumped out was 6. If they end up at 6, which is where they were entering last week before they lost to the Dolphins, they were sitting at 6. And because I see 6 and I see, all right, one dumb team is going to trade up for a quarterback.
Yeah.
So maybe not dumb. Maybe it's a smart move to move up there and go get a franchise quarterback. But it could also be a dumb team who goes and gets Carson Beck or something like that. So a team moves up and gets a quarterback. Travis Hunter's going to be off the board because he's the best player in the draft. Ted McMillan's probably going to be off the board because he's the best wide receiver in the draft. And that position has boomed recently, right? In the last 5 years, the value of a wide receiver has gone up tremendously. Mm-hmm. So if those 3 guys are off the board, plus probably another quarterback, and then you end up getting Will Campbell because you couldn't get any of those guys or any of the two non-quarterbacks, I'm fine with it, right? You're at least going out and getting a good offensive lineman. And I'm sure George feels that way about Banks. I know he likes Banks a lot. I think, you say consensus. I think we both agree Campbell's going to be good.
Yeah.
I think George likes Banks a lot more than I do.
You like Banks more, George?
I like Banks more. I just all around do, because I think because of the length of his arms, he just projects as a better tackle. We understand he's undersized, but I just like Kelvin Banks. And in a more balanced offense, I mean, Will Campbell's getting a ton of pass blocking snaps, and he's been fantastic for LSU this season. But like athletic pass rushers, he's seen them at Alabama, every one of them. Okay. That's when he has his worst games. And I'm not going to say Kelvin Banks has been fantastic. He has been a disappointment this season. compared to what his potential is. And that's me projecting a little on where I think Elliott Wolf would go because you remember earlier in the year, Keegan, Elliott Wolf is like, well, I love Vidarian Lowe's long arms. If he can learn how to use them, he could be a good tackle. It's like, he's just not. So to answer, I see Kelvin Banks picks 5 through 8.
Okay.
Will Campbell 10 through 15.
Oh, wow. That's surprising.
But that's where I see them going.
Yeah.
So, and to Keegan's point of, you can, like, if they have a top 3 pick, Giants, Raiders, Panthers, Titans, Browns need quarterbacks. The Saints need quarterbacks. Don't rule out a team. And play the leverage. If they get a top 3 pick, I don't want them sticking and taking a tackle. I want you trading back, getting more picks, and then taking a tackle. Don't overrule how overzealous some of these GMs got. We saw the demand to go up for 3 by Joe Shane of the Giants to want to get Drake May. Same thing will happen in multiple spots. Yeah. So that's where I go in, where I can see Banks or Will Campbell in that range, and that's where the guys go. Keegan, before we let you go, I want to bring up one more guy.
Yep.
Ariante Ursary out of Minnesota. This is the frame of a left tackle in the NFL. 6'6", 330 pounds. Ariante Ursary with Minnesota. Look, 5th year of college, has played in 38 games, allowed 1 sack, 13 pressures so far this season. Prototypical frame, but in a run-heavy offense, physical Big Ten football, I don't know how this translates for the Patriots. And I'll keep it simple. He's still raw, even though he's a 5th-year guy. Didn't start playing football until he's a junior in high school. You watch his feet. You watch his hands. They can be sloppy. They can be slow. It's good if Scott Peters is back to learn his striking system, which I know is polarizing around
speaking
football.
My language right now, George.
What's that?
You're speaking my language. I love everything you're saying. I'm sorry I cut you off. Keep going.
Yeah, you're good. And like, that's important. Scott Peters had a long career as an NFL offensive lineman, then had a career in MIAA and learned striking. And you keep it within your frame, and it's quick hands, and that's how you win. Like, that's important for Ariante Ursary. But this guy's developmental, and he's best in a play-action heavy offense. The Patriots don't do a lot of play action. If you attach developmental next to their offensive lineman name, I don't want them in the first round. Now, if Ariante Ursary falls to you, if a Josh Simmons out of Ohio State falls to you, Josh Simmons might not be back to football until August, then it makes sense. Ariante Ursary would probably be the 3rd tackle in the first round because of Simmons' injury, but he's developmental, and remember that.
I'm so glad you brought him up because this was kind of the last point I wanted to make. This is where I'm at with the offensive line. Are you guys ready for where I'm at with the offensive line?
Sure, man. Can't wait.
Put a bow on it.
First round, you're not allowed to take one. You're not allowed to take an offensive lineman in the first round. I won't let it happen. I'm done with the conversation about Campbell and Banks. I don't believe either one of them are going to be a franchise left tackle. I don't want to see anybody take them in the first round because I agree with you. 10-15 is probably the range where he should go. I think it would be a little higher. I would accept it. I would be okay with it. But deep down, deep inside, where I really want them to go, 2nd round. That's your offensive tackle because there are 3 names that I think you can take in the 2nd round and you can trust at the very least they will be a left tackle for you at some point in the future. Will it take a year? Maybe. But I think these guys can do it. And it's Ursary, it's Simmons, and it's Wyatt Millam, who's the only name that we haven't brought up yet. Wyatt Millam is a guy out of West Virginia. You want to talk about a dude who just does the job for 5 seasons now at West Virginia. He hasn't given up a quarterback pressure this year, folks.
Nuts.
He won't even let anybody get near his guy. He said, that's my boy back there. You're going to have to go through me to get him. And are you going to go through me? Hell no. I love Wyatt Millam. I love Ursary. That's my boy, Ursary. I think me and him would be famous friends. He seems like a tremendous fella. And Simmons was a first-round offensive lineman before he got hurt. Like, this is a guy that I would have taken in the first round because he's so athletic. And if you watch college football, you've seen what happened to Ohio State after he got hurt.
Yep.
They had to move their left guard to left tackle, their center to left guard. Then they had a new center. The old center got hurt. They had to move their left guard back to center and then a new left guard. It ruined the entire offensive line because this guy was the anchor. He held it down. So those are the 3 names, Ursary, Millam, Simmons. You take any one of those guys in the 2nd round, I'm doing cartwheels and backflips. I love all 3 of them. Those are the names for me. I know George probably agrees with all those, and Travis doesn't care.
Don't give a damn. I do like your cartwheels and backflips.
I got into this.
I'll do what do they call that? A round off? You do the cartwheel and the flip? Get me in a gymnastics class, and I'll do it on camera if they draft one of those guys.
I wanted to check Twitter to see if there were any new reports on Josh Simmons and his timeline, so I just typed in literally Josh Simmons, Ohio State. I loved my algorithm. Shams tweet from March 7th about Ben Simmons dealing with an injury popped up.
That's funny.
And I was like, go on, Cook. The few times the algorithm actually pays off. He's Keagan Stiefel. Keegs, always appreciate you stopping by, talking draft, talking offensive lineman. Trav, you hear this? It's done. It's over.
Thank God.
Over. Until like April.
Yes.
We're going to talk about.
Exactly. We'll ramp it up. Keegs, have a good one, man. Appreciate you hopping on. Hey, you want to get away as far away from offensive line talk as possible? Check out Hold My Banner. Talk NBA. They talk Celtics. It's hosted by Travis Thomas and Ante Campbell. Everything you need NBA, everything you need Celtics, the culture around basketball, all right there. Hold My Banner wherever you get your podcasts. Trav.
Yep.
Short and simple, New York football, man. It's trash right now.
It is.
It's getting to the point where, like, the Jets and the Giants, you take off the logos and the jerseys, the way the franchises are run lately, it's bad.
It is
meddling
bad.
Ownership, man.
Well, it starts at the top, as they say. And right now, look, I'll give you props because you hit me to the game about the Giants forever. Yeah. I'm like, well, the Maras it's football royalty.
It's
and
like,
you're like, hey, man, it's come a long way down on the way down. We know the Jets have always been a dumpster fire, George.
It comes down to, even especially on the week of Daniel Jones being cut.
Yeah.
Think about it like this. The second best thing the Mariners ever did for Daniel Jones was release him and let him go. The first was hiring Joe Shane and Brian Dable. But if you go back to how Daniel Jones arrived in New York, it's David Gettleman, the last piece on his trash heap of a GM tenure there, drafted Daniel Jones to try and save his job. Then they fired the head coach he was drafted under, Pat Shurmur. Bring in Joe Judge and Jason Garrett. Hang on to them way too long. In walks Joe Shane, in walks Brian Dable. And it was rocky to start, but then you go back to 2022, before the season, where the Giants waive his fifth-year option, which was dumb in the moment and now in hindsight especially. But they go 9-7-1. They win a playoff game. Daniel Jones has the best season of his career. Saquon Barkley had the second best season of his career, only to what he's doing right now with Philly. But Daniel Jones in that season, 22 total touchdowns, 7 of them rushing, wins a playoff game where he goes off against Minnesota, and then John Mara goes, that's a franchise quarterback, sign him right now, whatever he wants. They should have let him hit free agency. Because by giving him that $40 million a year, they were only bidding against themselves. Mara wanted it, and that's when an owner meddles, and they ruined the franchise. That's why Saquon's now in Philly, and that's why it's taken this long to build an offensive line. Because then you fast forward, putting all that money into Daniel Jones, couldn't outfit him with a good O-line, whiffed on a draft pick, yes. Neck injury, knee injury, neck injury, was never the same quarterback from that point on. You release him, but you know what they did was worse? They wasted Brian Dable. Because it sounds like he's tuning out that locker room. Yeah. And if they fire Brian Dable because the players are tuning him out, he's going to be a great OC and a great head coach for another team.
Yeah, listen, the Giants have the best chance of bouncing back faster out of these two. There's no doubt about it. Yeah. And I like Dable too, but he's getting fired. Okay, let's move on from that. So here's what's going to happen. Whoever that new coach is going to obviously have a new quarterback who they take in the draft. But what they have there with the New York Football Giants is, Malik Neighbors looks like he can be a really good receiver if he gets the right trigger man. And defensively, I like what they have there core-wise. Yeah. I think the Giants, I look at that team, I still think Belichick's in play there because I think that's a team that can turn around very quickly. The Jets, my friend, they need an exorcism. And the sad thing about the Jets, George, is I think both Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams will be back. Yeah. I really do. I literally think they're going to run it back with a new coach.
They're all a mess, man. Hey, we're going to get into it now talking Giants Cowboys, but you guys want to check out Bears Lions preview, check out the latest episode of Boston has entered the chat. If you're enjoying this, make sure to always check out the chat. New episodes dropping every Monday through Friday. If you want to join the conversation, use the hashtag NESSENChat. Email us, thechat@nesson.com. Join the conversation, comment on YouTube. That's Boston Center, the chat, wherever you get your podcasts, and available on YouTube. All right, Trav, so Thanksgiving Day games are interesting.
Turkey Day.
Giants Cowboys. Tommy DeVito popped up with a forearm injury. Will it be him? Will it be Drew Lock? Will it be Cooper Rush? Will it be
DeVito?
Yeah, this can't hurt. He's still gonna be. I wonder if
you
it
can't
affects.
do that with a forearm injured.
I wonder if it affects it. It'll affect throwing the football. Not like he's doing a great job at that. This is the game, man. Like Bears Lions is salvageable if the Bears keep it close.
Yes.
Dolphins, Packers, it's going to be cold.
Yeah.
Tua stinks in the cold. But you know what? It's Packers. It's Lambeau. There's nothing about this game. You know what this game is? This is the nap game. This is the nap game. Giants stink. Cowboys stink.
Yeah.
Brian Daboll looks like he may get fired.
Yeah.
But it's because it's ownership's fault. If you ask me about the Giants, what do you think about this game? DeVito, Rush,
nap game. What time do you eat? Noon? I actually think this is going to be the eating. Like, this is when you're eating and you have to talk to your family.
Fair.
And then usually you don't really want to talk to your family. You want to watch a game. This year, you better talk to your family. You know what I mean? Because this game stinks. Look, honestly, I'm willing. Because I like to have a little fun on Turkey Day. I'm willing to bet on the Giants. I don't give a damn if it's Cutlets or if it's Drew Lock. It doesn't matter to me. And I'll tell you why. The Cowboys win against the Commanders. As happy as Cowboy fans were, because they hate Washington, I get it, and Washington hates them right back. As happy as they were to get that win, and they should be, that's a rival, and the Cowboys stink, and we all know it. I was actually left that game feeling like the Commanders blew it. Not so much impressed with what the Cowboys did. I was like, what are the Commanders doing at home in this spot against this crappy Cowboys team whose season is lost? Commanders haven't been playing well. This is a chance for you to win, get back on track, beat your rival at home. Jaden Daniels balls out, and they lost the game.
Yeah.
What? I don't believe for a second. Cowboys fans now are talking about wild card and mathematically we're still shut up. Okay, here's what's going to happen on Thanksgiving. You, Cowboys fans, I'm talking to you, are going to get your hopes up. And you're going to be like, man, we're going to beat the Giants back-to-back weeks. We hate the Commanders. We beat them. Now we're going to beat the Giants. We hate them too. We got a shot at the wild card. And just like it always happens, they will let you down. And I think the Giants – listen, I'll be honest, George. I don't know how you feel. I know you're going to talk about it. I would rather Drew Lock. If I'm a Giants fan, you're telling me – I call him Danny DeVito. You're telling me Danny DeVito is banged up and you are considering playing him? Bro, when you're 100%, you're not good. If you have a hangnail, you ain't playing. Drew Lock, you're up. If I'm a Giants fan, I think they should have played Drew Lock to begin with. That's just me, but whatever. Go to Drew Lock. I bet you. I'm not a Drew Lock fan, but in spot starts, George, I watched them do it in Seattle. I just saw it, but Geno caught fire, and they stuck with Geno, and that was the right move.
Yep.
But for spot starts, Drew Lock, man, he loves a big stage. I bet you Drew Lock or Tommy DeVito will ball out in this spot. But if I'm a Giants fan, I'd rather roll with Drew Lock. I'm taking the Giants to win this game. I am.
I know I just got done talking how the offensive line is built, but what the Cowboys are now doing with Micah Parsons, he's lining up in the A-gap. He's lining up at defensive tackle. And he's having one of the pass rush win rates at defensive tackle, out of qualified defensive tackles.
Crazy.
That's Micah Parsons. Him alone can ruin this game. What the Cowboys did in the most bizarre game ever. Like, let's face it. If they don't have an insane return for a touchdown, who knows what happens? Terry McLaurin should have been the nail in the coffin, and then a field goal post goes off. I'm not sold on the Cowboys. I'm not sold on either team.
Neither.
And it's a matter of like Malik Neighbors calling the Giants soft, calling out the coaching. God ask Dabes why I'm not getting targets. And Brian Daboll handling it all as well as he can. This is just a mess. This game comes down to this. This is likely the deciding game for Brian Daboll. If he wins, he'll stay. If he loses, he's fired after this game. And let me tell you this. If the Giants lose and Brian Daboll gets fired, if Brian Daboll is out there to be an offensive coordinator, you hire him. And this is any team in the league, except for a few. But the Patriots, is they like what they see from AVP. Brian Daboll is the type of guy you bring in. Who does Drake May get compared to? Josh Allen. Drake May right now is further along than Josh Allen was as a rookie. Yeah. Josh Allen's numbers as a rookie alone, 53% completion percentage, 10 passing touchdowns, 12 interceptions, multiple games under 100 passing yards. Drake May's floor is 220, and his completion percentage and his ceiling is so much higher right now. But then you look at years 2 through 4 in the NFL with Daboll still as coordinator, 20 touchdowns, 37 touchdowns, 36 touchdowns, with his rushing factor still being there stronger than ever. Don't let his tenure with the Giants dissuade you from how good of an offensive coordinator and play caller Brian Daboll is. And don't forget about 2022, when he had that entire roster and Daniel Jones overperforming and gave Saquon Barkley his second best career year. That's what got Daniel Jones the extension. Brian Daboll. But Daniel Jones' mishandling will get him fired. And guess what? If you're the Patriots, how you look at it. Daboll comes back. His NFL start was as an assistant with the Patriots. You bring him in. He develops your quarterback. He runs your offense. And you know what you see every day?
What?
A hands-on audition. Is this guy really a head coach? Because if your head coach doesn't show progress in year 2, it's dirty work. It's nasty work, but it's business.
Yeah.
Jerod Mayo, thank you. We tried. It didn't work out. Brian Daboll, your head coach.
Okay, that's where I'm going because you gave me a lot to unpack there. First, let me backtrack here to the game, okay? 6 straight losses for the Giants. How could you feel good about betting on this team? And you're right. Malik Neighbors calling out Daboll and all that. It's a bad look. But I still, even with all that, DeVito or Locke, I prefer Locke. And that defense on this stage, and the Cowboys don't win at home any damn ways. I like the Giants in the game. As far as Daboll, I bring this up because if you're telling me that both coaches are on the hot seat and could be in trouble by losing this game, because let's not forget about Mike McCarthy here, okay? And we watched Mike McCarthy beat the hell out of Ron Rivera on Thanksgiving, and that was enough for Washington to say, enough is enough. Rivera, you got to go. And they ran him out of town. Don't think for a second if Daboll and the Giants, who are in the pits right now, go into Jerry's world and beat them on Thanksgiving, that Mike McCarthy might not be shown. So both of these coaches are in trouble, George. Let's not put Daboll on the hook here. With that being said, I trust Brian Daboll more. And I actually think he'll get a head coaching job. I don't think he's going to be a coordinator, George. This is my opinion.
Yeah.
I think baked in, teams around the league will say, your team was an idiot for letting Saquon walk and Daniel Jones, be the guy that got the bag. I think they'll give Daboll a pass. That's just my opinion. I think he'll be a head coach.
Daboll gets fired by the Giants, hired by the Cowboys.
Oh, that'd be nuts. Good hire for the Cowboys, so it won't happen because it's smart.
Daboll gets fired by the Giants, hired by the Bears.
I love that.
Now, if I'm Brian Daboll, I would look at the Bears seriously.
I love that.
You know what you don't want to be? You don't want to be the Jets, the Giants, or the Browns right now. And I can't believe I'm putting the Giants in the conversation with the Browns and Jets, but that's what it is. Trav, I said this to you. I just want to end the show with this. The Browns are Thanksgiving dinner, but you messed up the turkey. Think about Thanksgiving dinner and everything you have. You have the turkey, but the sides are so important, right? You got your stuffing, your mac and cheese, a cranberry sauce.
Right.
Well, they got that right. They have Myles Garrett, Denzel Ward.
Yeah.
And even mashed potatoes when not done right.
Yeah.
But when done right can be great. That's what they did with the offensive line and Nick Chubb. They got all the sides right. They got the best chef. They have Kevin Stefanski. But the Haslams had one job. Pay for a quarterback.
Yes.
They had one job. Get the turkey out of the oven.
Yes.
They left it in too wrong. Ruined the whole meal.
Oh.
They gave Deshaun Watson the money. Ruined the whole franchise.
Oh, such a great analogy.
They hit everything. Perfect. Everything perfect. And they messed it up.
Typical Browns. Gobble, gobble.
Trav, this is the last episode of the Thanksgiving week. Shout out Keagan Stiefel. Thanks for hopping on the show. Shout out to you guys tuning in, leaving the comments on YouTube as well. We love you guys for that. We'll get back to later ones next week. We'll go back to normal program Monday, Wednesday, Friday. New episodes dropping. This Friday will be a draft special. Check it out, though. And as always, like, subscribe, download, rate, review. If you want to join the conversation, use the hashtag NessonChat. Email the chat at Nesson.com. And if you're on Nesson's YouTube page, hit the subscribe button as well. He's Travis Thomas. I'm George Balekji. We'll see you guys after Thanksgiving. Have a great Thanksgiving and Black Friday, everyone.